Suresh, one is tax saving, as you mentioned earlier, but an ELSS is also a diversified equity fund. And again, for a new investor, somebody who's a first-time investor and looking at equities and looking at equity mutual funds, what role can an ELSS play in my portfolio? You made the point earlier that it's not only about tax saving. So if I'm constructing my portfolio and if I say, for example, I say I want to be 50% in equity, can I be 50% as a first-time investor in a diversified fund like an ELSS, or should it be a very small part of my overall portfolio?
How much of asset should be in equity, how much should be in debt? Actually, there are quite a few factors which we will have to consider. For a person who is young and who has probably 25-30 years to go, the equity orientation can be rather high. So having said that, we will have to look at what is the risk profile of the person. Even among say 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds, there can be people who are rather conservative. And we also have to look at what goals are coming up at what point in time. So very young people, typically there are multiple goals coming in the next several years. Of course, there are medium-term goals, there are long-term goals. I mean, retirement being one of them. Maybe they want to buy a house, children's education and future, all those things are all there in the medium-term, long-term horizon. So, I mean, what is that they really want to invest for is what we have to see. So, asset allocation becomes very, very important. But for a young audience, anywhere between 50 to 75, 80%. If somebody is very, very aggressive, 80% also can work. So, in that context, an ELSS anyway is a good fund to invest in. Like you rightly pointed out, it's anyway a diversified equity fund. So, it's a good product to be in, and there is also a constraint which has been put on ELSS that you have to stay invested for 3 years, which is a good constraint because equity is a long-term product and you are also saving tax and you are also compulsorily staying invested for 3 years. It's actually a good thing to be invested in ELSS. So, if somebody is conservative in their approach towards equity investing, they can look at large cap oriented ELSS funds. If they have a slightly aggressive intent, then they can probably look at maybe large to mid cap or a mid cap oriented ELSS fund. So, that's the only thing, but they should look at ELSS as an option, especially for the young audience.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.